This is the Outlap F1 podcast featuring America's own John, James, Andy, and Deanna, your one-stop shop for Formula One news, insights, race previews, and reviews. Join us on the Outlap. What's up, folks? And good evening, Outlap F1 Nation. This is season 6. This is episode number 5. I'm still working on my new intro, by the way, if you haven't figured that out. Season 6, episode 5 of the Outlap F1 podcast. It's our 2024 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix race preview show. You've got Andy, and I'm along with my wonderful normal preview co-host and general co-host as well, Cody. Been a hot minute since we've seen each other, a whole whopping 36 hours. But how's it been in that time? And getting excited for the weekend?
Yeah, it's been good. I'm very, very excited for the weekend. I'm going to see the Eagles twice. So that's going to be awesome. Also, representing some Chicago sports today. If you guys can see my hat, if you're watching it on YouTube, big Cubs fan. Cubs are keeping Cody Bellinger, so I'm very excited for what they're going to do this year. Felt the need to represent.
Well, you know, it's the winter teams here have not been doing well, so it's good to have hope eternal. I know the Southside team is going to be bad. We know
Sorry.
that. So I'm not. I can't trash talk. I'm not going to trash talk. I'm just going to sit and cower in shame and wait for the owner to no longer be here. But anyway, that's a whole rant for another podcast and a different channel. That's not why you're here. You're here because you'd like to learn or talk a little bit about Formula One, and that's what we're going to do, God dang it. So you can find our show, as always, welcome along, on Twitter or X or whatever that platform, whatever's left of it. We're there, and we're posting stuff. Instagram, we have activated Instagram. I can honestly say you can find some of our short form content on Instagram. We're going to be trying to do that throughout the course of the season, especially over the course of race reviews. Discord, we're still there. Reddit, occasionally on there, but not very much. YouTube, however, that we are still there, and we're very active there. At Outlap F1 Podcast is the handle for all of those places. You can see our link tree in our show notes. Just as a general reminder, we are still on that new Apple Podcast link. You can find it on our link tree if you're having trouble finding the show. Spotify definitely all works. Both of those platforms are the best two possible ways probably to get your podcast. But we're on other platforms. I think we're still on the Good Pods. I still think we post to there. We post to a bunch of other ones. So if you're having trouble finding us, just go to the best place would be go to our Twitter, see our link tree, and that'll take you to all the places where the show is. If you like what you're hearing and you like what you're seeing, if you could do us a solid and give us a like and a subscribe on YouTube or on your favorite podcasting app, a 5-star review, again, helps us come up a little bit better in search results. Because, again, we've kind of started over, especially on the Apple Podcast side. So any sort of review you'd like to give, we'll definitely take the feedback and try to work it and try to make the show better for it. You can email the show, chatnow@outlapf1.com. That definitely is still working. The website, www.outlapf1.com, may be rising from the ashes like a phoenix within the next little bit. I've actually made some positive inroads on that. It's not up yet, but it may be coming imminently. So hope to have that in the next, more update on that in the next little bit. Just as a reminder, Outlap F1 Nation, you guys are awesome. You continue to step up. Thank you so much to our continued monetary supporters, Dean Warwick, Yuri Dolchester, Paul Weaver, Quentin Warden, Kevin Kelly, Regan Stanzik, Timothy Brown, and of course, Jonathan Scott. If you'd like to become a member of what we call that hashtag Outlap F1 Nation, you can see our anchor page. I will make sure it is in our show notes on all of the podcasting platforms. You can $1, $5, all goes into going into investing in new equipment, making the show better, trying to make our product that much better for you. Just as a general reminder, our code OUTLAP with the good folks at Manscaped is still up and active. That's OUTLAP. That'll get you 20% off and free shipping from their lovely array of product that you can browse, peruse, and purchase from the good folks at Manscaped. All right. So we will, with the particulars now out of the way, we will dive into the news. And for a short week, You didn't expect there to be a lot here. We were wrong. Boy, were we wrong. Um, so the top story, believe it or not, is not the story that was topping the charts last week. That's the second story. We're going to get to that in a minute. But the bigger story, the one that could have massive repercussions throughout the FIA and throughout the sport of Formula One, the FIA president, Mohammed Ben Sulayem, under fire, I think is putting it mildly. These are some huge accusations, and I don't like to hyperbolize. However, we'll kind of take you through what we know. So there has been a whistleblower at the FIA who has submitted and has caused this report to get, or his report or his accusation to be submitted to the FIA Ethics Committee, which could potentially mean the removal of Mohammed bin Sulayem as FIA president. So here's what we know as of Wednesday night when we're recording. The two main accusations, the first one surrounds the 2023 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. And just to kind of refresh your memories, this was the Grand Prix where Fernando Alonso got a 5-second penalty for not being properly lined up in his grid box. Goes around. He was actually in, I think, second. He actually led that race for a lap or two of it. Came in to try to serve his penalty on his first pit stop. The team looks like they stay away for 4 or 5 seconds. They then complete the pit stop. The FIA ruled that the car was being touched because the jack in the back was actually touching the car. So therefore, he had not, according to what the FIA ruled at the time, served his 5-second penalty and was therefore assessed a 10-second penalty because the Jeddah race was only a one-stop race that was added to his race time and he plummeted down the order. Fernando Alonso then appealed that decision, and that appeal was successful. So his podium place, his third place, was restored, and he was awarded all of those points. The accusation is that Mohammed Ben Sulayem, in this interim time between when the first ruling came down that gave him the 10-second penalty, was speaking to another FIA official, acting in an official capacity. And what he's accused of doing is telling that official that he thought that the penalty that was assessed was incorrect. Did that necessarily? Yeah, I mean, it's lobbying, definitely, if nothing else. Did it necessarily cause the appeal to then get overturned? We don't know. But if he's giving an opinion and he's got the gravitas in his position, it certainly doesn't look good. So that's issue one. Issue two is probably twice as bad. If you thought the first one was bad, this one's going to make your jaw drop. Because apparently, now we've known and we've talked about many times on this show how the relationship between the FIA and FOM and Formula One has been strained and was very much at an all-time low. The same whistleblower is also saying that when it came to the Las Vegas GP circuit, which didn't get homologated till right at the end, and we talked about it this last year, that was kind of a hair on fire, last minute, gobble it up, get the stamp on it, and send it type of situation. Mohammed Ben Sulayem apparently had expressed to other officials, again in an official capacity, that he did not want to see the Las Vegas circuit get homologated. And if that was the case, that race would have been forced to have been canceled. That means the F1 cars couldn't have run. Now, obviously, we are aware of what happened with Carlos Sainz and the sewer cover and all of the delay and all of the things that happened on the Friday practice of that weekend, or the Thursday night / Friday morning practice that happened, and all the issues therein. The race was able to go through as originally scheduled, and for the most part, I think the opinion on the circuit turned, I think, because they were able to run the race. If this is what the FIA president is doing, this is not what his role is supposed to be. His role is supposed to kind of oversee overall car safety, put some new initiatives in. This is not his role. I mean, that's the bottom line. But now it seems to flag that now there's this potential internal power struggle within the FIA because we don't know who the whistleblower is. We know he's having some very serious accusations. So now the case goes to the FIA Ethics Committee, who are going to investigate, as they do. This is the same procedure that was followed when the Toto/Susie Wolf accusation that came out of the article from the Business of F1 people came to the FIA. They investigated. They concluded there was nothing wrong there. So we're going to have an investigation, a report, and if necessary, if they find that sufficient evidence exists to escalate this, it could potentially begin removal proceedings for Mohammed bin Sulayem. So, Cody, a lot that I have just said. What's your take on all of this? And do you believe it, or do you think this is kind of a made up type deal?
And like investigations is just the name of the game in the Formula One world right now. It's nutty. And I think that this definitely could go somewhere because, like you said, this isn't really Mohammed bin Sulayem's role in the FIA. He is the FIA president, but he's, he's a representative, I would say, first and foremost, and he's, making sure that everything in the FIA, all the different parts are supposed to be working smoothly and doing what they're supposed to be doing. But he's oversight. He's the boss. There's particular people within the organization whose job it is to do things like assign penalties and do the appeals and decide if a track and circuit should be certified for a race. And he's in a position where he has sway because he is at the top, but he really shouldn't be sticking his nose so directly in these issues is I guess how I feel about it. Like if the FIA decided that Fernando Alonso deserved the 10-second penalty because there was the jack touching the car, then he's supposed to, in my opinion, support that, outwardly. If he personally thinks that the penalty is wrong, that's fine. But don't talk about that in an official capacity. You want to lend credit to the FIA. You want to say, yes, they did the right thing. And if they change their mind after the appeal process, then that's fine too. But you don't want to be telling other people in an official capacity your personal opinions because it can have sway because you're the boss. And same thing with the Las Vegas circuit. People are there to make sure that the circuit is certified and ready to go the way it is. And you don't want to be saying in any official capacity that you thought what the FIA did in certifying the circuit was wrong, because that takes away from that, that discredits the FIA. And so you don't want to be doing that. And I think if he's doing it in the sense of trying to use that sway, trying to use his authority as FIA president to change the FIA's decision to be more what he personally wants, then that's where you're actually going to get into trouble.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those cases of, it's a thin line that most of what the FIA does has to fall within generally. They're there to enforce the rules that they're given. They're not supposed to be making policy or creating policy necessarily. That's the way that the F1 structure works, is that the teams come up with the structure. The FOM agrees to that structure. They submit a rules to, a set of rules or a set of regulations to the FIA. The FIA is then bound to try to enforce those. In nowhere does it say that the president should be sticking his nose in effectively where it really doesn't belong. I mean, this reeks of autocratic leadership. It reeks of like dictator type behavior. It's something that I would have expected to see in like the Max Mosley era. It's not what I would have expected from a guy whose entire platform when he ran for FIA president, he was the change candidate. He was the progressive change candidate. And this now looks like it's a complete 180 from what he ran under. Don't get it. Don't understand it. Why would you be so kind of stupid as to just let that stuff drop, regardless of what your opinion is. Keep your mouth shut.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that, especially with the Las Vegas thing. I mean, whether he's a fan of what Fom did in Las Vegas or not, that's Niels Vidic's job. That's what that's who's actually there on site. And if he is trying to put something into Niels Vidic's ear to delay or not have proceedings happen, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. And then you are a stone's throw away from, okay, well, if this is happening, then what else has happened that we don't necessarily know about? And then it's a ripple effect, and all sorts of decisions can come into question very, very quickly. So this is a big deal. Obviously, it's going to get investigated. I don't know if any of this proves to be true. I can't see how he survives it. Yeah, so I guess that's kind of where I'll leave it. We will obviously follow this. We will kind of take it to completion, good, bad, or indifferent, and see where this ends up. But a huge kind of revelation that happened in the last couple days since we were last with you, related to the FIA here, and it just keeps going. And so
Mm-hmm.
the story that seems to have taken on its own it has taken on its own life at this point. The Christian Horner / Red Bull latest drama is still. We said, at the end of the last review, the situation was far from resolved. That's still the case. We've had Jos Verstappen go on the record and say that, air quote, Red Bull will explode if Christian Horner stays. There were scenes in the paddock of Jos Verstappen, this is Max Verstappen's father, speaking to Toto Wolff, which then sparks rumors of a Max to Mercedes rumor, which is kind of unbelievable given the performance of the RB20. But apparently that's could be something that everyone was talking about, especially at Media Day today. And all that is amongst a backdrop of one, a very icky and not comfortable at all accusation against Christian Horner. And apparently, what's also come to light is a huge power struggle going on at the Red Bull organization for ultimate control of the RBR organization, where you've got the Red Bull GBMH, Ali Mitzlaff, Helmut Marko, and an Austrian faction kind of lined up against Christian Horner, some Thai shareholders that have major shareholding in the Red Bull organization. On the other, both fighting for control of the Red Bull racing organization. So, you know, carry that with the backdrop of, we're not talking as much about the accuser, and her perspective on this is kind of getting lost in the shuffle. And this is just one of those stories where it's, I think we were talking about it in the pre-show, it's a bit of a click farm right now, and it's just, that's where everybody's going. So we're going to kind of sit back and wait to see what else comes out of it. If there's any new news, we'll definitely bring it to you. This is what we know. There's still a lot of speculation, not a ton of fact. But Cody, I'll let you kind of speak to what you know, or if you've heard anything different than I have.
No, I've pretty much heard all the same stuff, that it is this big power struggle that we're now aware of that is going on at the same time as all of the Christian Horner accusations and everything that's continuing to come to light with that. Pretty much right after the Red Bull internal investigation cleared him of wrongdoing. There's massive drop of all kinds of pictures and videos that were sent out to everyone, and so that's just going completely off the rails now. It's going to be really interesting. I mean, trying to be very careful with how I phrase it, but it's going to be very interesting to see what happens, and I hope that justice prevails at the end, whether that means Christian Horner losing his job or not. As far as the Jos Verstappen comments go, we really don't know from our perspective exactly what's going on within the organization. We just see Red Bull car go fast, and that they're dominating the sport. But it really does, if Jos Verstappen's comments are to be believed, it must be really some internal turmoil going on, and the power struggle between the Austrian Red Bull faction and the Christian Horner tiebackers Red Bull faction. It really does lend to that his statement is true in some way. Um, that Horner staying there is probably just making things worse right now. As far as the Max Verstappen to Mercedes side of things, my initial reaction is there's no way in hell. Like, he's driving by far the best car on the grid. Like, he's if you take all of the crazy stuff that's going on right now and set that aside, there is a very talented team at Red Bull that has put together the best car, and I would think he wouldn't want to give that up for anything right now. He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to agree or disagree necessarily with anything that's going on. I mean, he can, in my opinion, be, against. It's hard to phrase properly. He can have his opinions on what's going on within the organization and still be a really good driver and drive that car. Like, I don't, he's not doing anything wrong, in my opinion, by staying there, because it's a big organization. There's a lot of talented and innocent people that are just there to put together the best car, and he doesn't have to side with Christian Horner, or he doesn't have to even speak out outwardly against him, in my opinion, in order for him to merit staying there. But yeah, I don't see him leaving for Mercedes. That said, I also said at some point in the offseason or last year that I didn't think Lewis Hamilton would ever leave Mercedes, and that has since happened. So who the hell knows, man? Anything can happen.
Yeah, I mean, that is the one true constant in Formula One is the second you think you know something that comes out that proves that apparently we don't. So yeah, maybe we do see Max Verstappen in all black at some point driving the Mercedes car for Toto Wolff, and we just have this ultimate swap, and then the RB seat becomes has to be the most sought after thing in Formula One ever.
Checo
And
world
then
champion.
yeah, and then Lord only knows what happens and where we go from there. But yeah, I mean the situation itself hasn't changed all that much, other than we still don't know what we still kind of don't know. And the big question that I have is, any of what was sent out to all of these media people, is that really credible? To me, if it is, he's fired. I mean, that's kind of the end
Yeah.
of it. It's like, you can't look at that, and I've looked at it and I've read all the stuff on it, and it's painful as it was to do, I felt compelled, the need to at least see what the perspective was. He comes off as a
Yeah.
creep. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
definitely. Like, yeah, anyone who's delved into any of the stuff that's come out, and it's definitely out there. If you've delved into that and that stuff turns out to be accurate and true and what actually happened, yeah, that's pretty damning. I mean, there's not really any way around that.
yeah. I mean, at worst, it's criminal. At best, it's fireable. So that's kind of where I'm at on it. But again, we don't know what we don't know. We don't know if that's credible. We don't know if that actually is from the real accuser of all this.
In today's
And
world, I hate to say it, it's really easy to fake shit too. Like,
right, right. And I'm not suggesting that any of that has
no,
been faked or any of it at this
I'm not
point.
either. I'm not either. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying we don't know.
Right. And there's so much that's out there in the ether that is very much single sourced. And so, we probably haven't clicked as much about it, other than we know that there's still stuff going on around it. I'm following it. And then when we put something out, it's because we think we know it to be true and credible. Not that it's, we're not going to try to participate in trying to get extra clicks or extra likes or any of that stuff. That's not why we're out here to do this. We're here to do this to try to bring information to people who are interested in Formula One. It's a story that is around Formula One because it happened within Formula One. So we will continue to watch it and see what happens. But what I'm afraid of is that this whole thing, like, now we got a power struggle about this, and here we have this accuser who did, in my opinion, did nothing wrong other than try to show up and work. And if we're not taking that perspective into account as we go through all of this, that becomes the situation to me gets all the much more sad. So anyway, that's kind of my 2 cents on it. We'll keep watching and we'll report when we know more. All right. That's probably going to do it for the news. We can talk about the, I don't know, Cody, if you've seen it. I didn't put it in the document, but did you see the renderings of the potential the new purpose-built facility that the Saudis are thinking about
Oh,
making with
the
the
Rainbow Road.
elevated? Yes.
Yeah. Yes, I did see that. I saw that, and at first I was like, that can't possibly be real, can it? And then started seeing a little bit more about it. I'm like, holy crap, they actually want to build that. And honestly, it would be really cool. Like, it would be crazy. I don't know how you could. I mean, it would take a lot of work to make something like that safe. But I mean, you see, and yeah, they drive over bridges in IndyCar in Nashville,
Yeah.
right? So, like, I'm sure there's ways of doing it. It looked like from the renderings, it looks like it would be the coolest shit. So I would be all for that. Definitely keep all the rainbow stuff though, because with something like that, I gotta call it Rainbow Road. Get the Mario Kart in there, and yeah, that would be pretty sweet.
There's supposed to be, like, in the video that they put out, I saw that there's supposed to be some sort of a roller coaster that's supposed to be like paralleling it, and they're going to try to time the roller coaster so that it's matching up when the cars are going by. So you can be on a roller coaster doing like 50, 60 miles an hour and watching an F1 car at 120, 130 whiz on past you.
How much do you suppose a ride on that roller coaster would cost?
Probably more than we have at the moment. I'd imagine
That'd be
race day
so
stuff for
cool.
that would be a fairly pricey ticket. So yeah, I mean, those renderings are out there. You can take a look for them. It's a cool concept. I would love to kind of see how they're going to try to make it a reality. But it is being built where it's being built, which means there's tons of extra money right now because it's a country that has a ton of extra money with nothing else to do with it. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, on the surface, I love the idea of an elevated, curvy turn one without it being on a hill. That's just kind of an amazing engineering feat. So it was designed, I know, by Alex Wirtz, who is, I think, eventually may be the next president of the GPDA. So we'll have to see, but he's angling for that position. So it is an ex-driver. People, some people who are connected to Formula One, people who know how, it does have Herman Tilke's firm name attached to it as well. So yeah, I mean, we'll continue to watch that, and we'll see. We knew the Jeddah Corniche circuit where we're going to this weekend was supposed to be temporary, so this was, I guess, supposed to be the purpose-built facility that's coming. And with that, we're going to take a quick break. We will re-rack, and then we will get into, since we're still racing at the Jeddah Corniche circuit, we will get into the track facts about that, and then we'll talk a little bit about predictions and what the weekend is going to have in store. It's a full card. F1 Academy is going to start this weekend, so come on back. We'll get into all that in just a little bit. You are listening to the Outlap F1 podcast, and we'll be right back after this quick pit stop. Grab your flu powder, broomstick, or apparate to your favorite audio streaming service to join the discussion on Hogwarts, a podcast, where Dan and his friends have in-depth chapter-by-chapter breakdowns of each Harry Potter novel. Join the group as they dive into the magical world and discuss plot points, analyze character development, and occasionally go off the rails. Whether you're a muggle who's new to the series or a pure-blood wizard who won't need a remember-all, Hogwarts, a podcast, brings everyone to the Great Hall for a magical discussion. Hogwarts, a podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts. All right, welcome back. This is season 6. This is episode number 5. of the Outlap F1 podcast. It's our 2024 Saudi Arabian GP race preview. You've got Andy, and I'm along with Cody tonight, and we're going to hop into our GP weekend proper, even if it's all going to be done by Saturday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But we're still on that same schedule like we were last week. But Cody, with free practice only a few scant hours away, tell us about the Jeddah Corniche circuit.
All right. This weekend, we are going and racing around the Jeddah Corniche circuit located in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Number of laps around the circuit for F1 is 50 laps. Length of the track is 6.174 kilometers or 3.836 miles. The tire selection from Pirelli for this race is the C2, C3, and C4 tire compounds, which is the same compounds that were used last year. And the track characteristics, as brought to you by Pirelli, are a 2 out of 5 for traction, 2 out of 5 for braking, 3 out of 5 for lateral load, a 3 out of 5 for tire stress, 4 out of 5 for track evolution, 3 out of 5 for asphalt grip, 2 out of 5 for asphalt abrasion, and a 2 out of 5 for downforce. Both of the lap records, qualifying and race, both of those records were set by Lewis Hamilton in 2021. The qualifying record is a 1 minute, 27.511 seconds, and the race time record is a 1 minute, 30.734 seconds. And I do believe that that race in 2021 at Jeddah was Lewis Hamilton's last race win to date. Most wins at this track is a three-way tie between Max Verstappen, Sergio Perez, and Lewis Hamilton, each with 1 win apiece here. And the constructor most wins goes to Red Bull for the last 2 years. They have 2 wins, while Mercedes has just that one Lewis Hamilton victory. What's the circuit like, Andy?
So it is going to be fast, very fast. Average speeds around this circuit are set to be 252 kilometers an hour, which is quicker than those at Silverstone, and second on the 2024 calendar, only to Monza, which is known as the Temple of Speed. It will, quite simply, be the fastest street circuit ever seen in Formula One. It's still that. The track will feature the most corners on the 24 calendar with 27, turn 27, with many of them quick, sinuous bends as the drivers wend their way along the Jeddah waterfront. As for the weather, looks like it's going to be no rain tires in the forecast. Clouds early will give way for qualifying. Clouds early will give way to generally clear conditions overnight. High of 85 during the height of the day, dropping down to 72. Winds out of the north at 10 to 15, so potentially some wind issues. A 4% chance of rain. For the race on Saturday, and again, we're on that Saturday schedule, a mostly clear sky, low of 69 degrees after a high of 87. Winds again out of the north at 10 to 15 miles per hour, a scant 2% chance of rain. All right. So we will now that we've got the weekend all set up, we will now get into... It is time for the Choose Your Champion predictions game. I need to already do some rallying after 1 week.
You're only 1 week behind.
I know. So, all right. Here we go. So, 2023, the victor, and I keep forgetting how, Perez did win a few races, especially early. Sergio Checo Perez did take the win last year. Max Verstappen actually qualified 15th.
Yeah, he had, didn't he have like an engine problem, or he had some kind of
it was some sort of an issue. Did not get out of Q2, but he came all the way to finish second in that race. So, who do we think is going to take pole? Are we just going to give it to Max now, or does he have to earn it? And Cody, what's your thought?
Judging, well, I guess last week it was actually pretty close between Max and Charles Leclerc. But until proven otherwise, I'm going to continue to guess Max Verstappen until he doesn't win a pole. So far, he's 1 for 1. So, I'm sticking with Max for this one.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I would love to go against the grain and say Charles Leclerc or maybe a McLaren because I think this track will suit that car, even in its current state, a lot better. But I can't do it. It's Max's until I can see somebody take it away. So I need every point I can get. So I'm going to say Max Verstappen taking the pole position. All right. So, as terms of qualifying lap time, last year's pole time was a 128.265. So, Cody, I'll let you go first again. What do you got for qualifying pole time?
Uh, just taking an educated guess for, trying to judge how much faster these cars were than last year. I'm going to go with just under a half second faster. So I'm going to go 1 minute 27.789.
All right, very good. I am also going to go faster than last year's pole time, but not quite as much because I do think Bahrain taught me anything is that Q3 is still Q3, and if you don't have two sets of soft tires, sometimes it's tough to really get on top of the track evolution. And I do think there will be a fair amount of track evolution here. So I do think we get into the low 28s. I've got a 128.004. Okay, so flipping now from the Friday qualifying to the Saturday race, the 2023 podium, as we mentioned, Sergio Checo Perez took the win. Max Verstappen from 15th comes home in second place, and Fernando Alonso, the restored podium after the appeal, as we already talked about, keeps his P3 there. So, Cody, what do you have for the podium on Saturday?
Sorry to say, I definitely don't have Fernando Alonso being on the podium this time around. I think it would take some pretty crazy stuff or the Aston Martin being really well suited to this track. I don't really see it happening, though. So I think I'm actually going with a repeat of my podium prediction from last race, which was Max Verstappen coming home in first, followed by Sergio Perez in second, and then Charles Leclerc in third.
All right, very good. I'm kind of going to go a little bit kind of off schedule here. I do think it's a street track. Sergio Perez loves street tracks. He also has done really well around this track in the times that we've been here. So I'm going to give this one, I think Sergio Checo Perez. I don't think this is the start of a championship fight, but boy, wouldn't it be fun to only have the delta between the drivers be 1 point, because I think Max will still somehow find a way to take the fastest lap. But I'm going to give Sergio Perez the win. Max Verstappen coming home in second place for some reason. I haven't figured out what that is yet. And Carlos Sainz doing Carlos Sainz thing and saying, screw it, Ferrari. I'm out here for me, and coming home in the podium position of third place.
I feel like Sergio Perez winning a race or like looking like he's about to win the race puts an extra bug up Verstappen's butt to get the fastest lap. I think he can't let it go. I think is what we've seen in the past.
And at the second race of the season, it's actually the correct strategy. If you can have the ability to do it, take the point. All right, so we will now move into our fastest lap and the driver. Max Verstappen took that award last year with a 131.906. I'm going to go first, and I'm going to say somehow Max Verstappen probably after the last pit stop goes out and blitzes the fastest lap, and that's the end of it, and we're not going to see any more of that. I've got it being faster than last year, significantly so, 131.259. Cody, what's your thought for fastest lap, and then who do you have doing it?
I do have Max Verstappen going out and getting the fastest lap, and doing a little bit of flip-flop from qualifying here. I'm going faster than last year, but not quite as fast as you went. So I'm going with a 1 minute 31.451 seconds.
And then who's your driver?
Sorry, about Max Verstappen.
All right, lock that in. Very good. Okay, so for bonus picks, I think we did the same bonus picks as last year, but we're going P5, P12, and P19. So good smattering of talent across the grid. I will go first on this one. For P5, I want to put McLaren up there so bad. I think they might be able to scratch out a podium if everything goes their way. I don't know that yet. So I'm going to have Lando Norris in P5. I do think they will be solid again while they're waiting kind of for that next big upgrade. I've got Alex Albon coming home in P12. because I do think this will suit the Williams car. It's a little bit quicker track, but I don't know that they're good enough necessarily to be in the points, especially given how dominant the top 5 teams were in the last race. And unfortunately, they've got people kind of hemorrhaging out of that team left and right. Our report about the 2 Alpine personnel who resigned, was made official over the course of the week. So I've got Esteban Ocon, P19. Doesn't feel good to put him there, but I think that's where they may end up.
Yeah, I've got so I think that Lewis Hamilton is performed very well at this track. Obviously, he's got all the lap records here from the last generation of cars. I think he's going to bounce back and he's going to perform better this week. So I've got Lewis Hamilton coming in 5th, probably behind both Red Bulls and both Ferraris, coming home in 5th. I've got Valtteri Bottas also making a comeback. Hopefully he doesn't have any pit stop issues this time around. I've got him coming home in 12th. And then I actually went with the other Alpine driver, Pierre Gasly, for finishing 19th. And I haven't decided whether that's because I think Ocon's going to be in 20th or whether I think Gasly's going to be behind him, but there's going to be a retirement. But either way, going with Gasly in 19th.
Okay. And so for our bonus pick, which we've had prediction game come down to the bonus pick many times before, we're asking, will any of the bottom 5 teams score a point? So half the grid. All we have to do is get 1 point if you answer yes. I'm going to say, I don't think so. Those 5 teams look so far clear of everybody from the last race. Yes, it's a different circuit, but I will say no. Cody, what you got?
I'm going to go with yes, because it only takes one car from those top 10 falling out of the race for the bottom 5 to get a point. And we have seen ridiculous reliability up to this point. I think there's a statistic going around that I think because Abu Dhabi finished with all 20 drivers at the end of last year, and we finished the Bahrain Grand Prix with all 20 drivers, that's the first time that's happened. Which is pretty amazing. And I think if we had all 20 drivers finish this race, that would make it 3 in a row, which would be just really astounding, both on the driver's part and the reliability of the cars. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think we're going to get at least one retirement, maybe an incident on lap 1 that'll take at least one front runner out.
Yeah, I mean, I think you make a good argument. I'm going no because I have to kind of go counter you to try to get back into this thing a little bit. You do look at the Jeddah circuit. There are plenty of opportunities for cars to clash. There's definitely pinch points on this track. So I do definitely think that is a distinct possibility. But again, I'm trying to march to a different drummer on this. So I'm going for a home run. I'm inspired by your cap. I'm going for a home run. We'll see what actually comes through. So before we head on out and get ready to enjoy this weekend, we did want to let you know when and where you can watch your F1 because it's going to be kind of all over the ESPN family of networks this weekend. So practice 1, like I said, will start in just a few hours from now, 8:25 a.m. Eastern. That will be on ESPNU. Practice 2 kicks off 11:55 a.m. Eastern, ESPN2 for that one. Free practice 3 on Friday, 8:25 a.m. Eastern. That will be ESPN2. The qualifying, a little bit easier if you're working on Friday, 11:55 a.m. Eastern. Maybe you can take a lunch hour and go enjoy some qualifying. That's ESPN2. And for Saturday, March 9th, that's when you're going to find your race. The pre-race festivities kick off 10:30 a.m. Eastern, ESPN2, and the race will then follow that. ESPN2 and ESPN Plus, if you happen to have that subscription, can also get you that. Also wanted to let everybody know there will be the F1 Kids alternate broadcast available, 11:55 a.m. Eastern. That starts on ESPN News, and there will be some re-airs 10 p.m. Eastern, ESPN News, and then again on Sunday, 9 a.m. Eastern, ESPN News, if you're so inclined. F1 Academy schedule is as follows. This is actually going to be available on streaming services. Practice For Thursday, 2:55 a.m. So really, really early if you want to get up. That's ESPN Plus. Qualifying 8 a.m. Tomorrow morning Eastern. So maybe as I'm getting up, I may be able to watch some of it. ESPN Plus. Race 1 will kick off Friday, 5:15 a.m. Eastern, ESPN Plus, and race 2 kicks off Saturday, 4:10 a.m. Eastern, again, ESPN Plus. F1 TV, I think will also, I want to say we'll have both of those as well. So you don't necessarily have to be a subscriber to ESPN Plus in order to watch F1 Academy. All right. So we hope we've got everybody ready to go and ready to rock for this weekend's on-track action. We will be back. We're not exactly sure when we're going to do the review. It may be Saturday. It may be Sunday. We're not necessarily sure. We're going to dial that down between now and the end of the weekend. But you will definitely hear from us at some point, probably Monday morning. It's probably when I'm looking for the race review to drop. We'll try to put it out on all the platforms as we are apt to do. So look for us there. And as always, folks, we'll catch you after the race on Saturday. And as always, may all your laps be fast.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Outlap F1 podcast. If you like what you heard, click that subscribe button and be sure to leave us a 5-star review. If you want to connect with us outside of the show, check out our website at www.outlapf1.com. Find us on Twitter and Instagram at OutlapF1 Podcast, or email us at chatnow@outlapf1.com. As always, thank you so much for your support, and we'll see you on the next one.